Okay, so I've come to a stern conclusion. This is the wrong size. It's obvious. Any mechanic can tell you this just from watching this. But then again, who's a mechanic? Okay, there is no official certification to be a mechanic like you have for doctors and lawyers and stuff. And arguably, being a mechanic is probably like a more deadly, important job to certify, maybe even more than doctors, because most of the injuries probably that doctors work on, that are emergencies at least, are related to car crashes. Um, so you would expect there to be at least a certification like a lawyer would have, at least something like that, considering that they would probably be. I would certify mechanics before you would certify before I would certify doctors or lawyers. To be honest with you, to be dead honest with you, like if I were, in the law, I mean, it doesn't sound, you know, as politically correct, but from like a legitimate, like an economic standpoint, you probably would be able to certify doctors and lawyers um, subsequently. That would be the first thing I would do. But I would get certification for mechanics. Anyway, there's no way for anybody to really verify this officially from a mechanic standpoint. Yeah, you could have an ASE certification, but that's a private certification. And so, really, under civil preponderance, I mean, somebody could say, hey, I mean, look at all this stuff we got going on, all this evidence here. We're in a recession. Is ASC certification really what we think it is? And that's tough for a judge to say. Of course, there's jurisprudence at the end of the day, but at least legally, lawfully speaking, if I were ruled against on that facet, I could technically appeal. And if I got shot down there, theoretically, I could have the right to secede, or just start my own country or something like that. At least the civil aspect would be there. And when we talk about secessions union and jurisprudence prudential, um, and the proof that has, it's a self-fulfilling, self-confirming prophecy in bringing about this revelation in the first place. So there's really no way to deny the civil method and the policies behind it as being more so logical than right, which basically revolve around sake. You have to assume the worst just for the sake of it, and if it could be preponderated, as so solely it should. So here we have this going on. There's really no way to really certify it. I mean, you just gotta take somebody whose word that knows what they're talking about, who's in caveat, and there's legally no other way to deny it, especially if there's corroborating evidence, from other people. With that being said, I wanted to say this is still a little bit tight, and I kind of would prefer it like that, considering I've been working on this quite a bit, and I've gouged out this. This is aluminum, and I don't like how loose it is in here. It's pretty loose because I've been reaming it from putting it, working on it, getting this out and putting it back in, trying to figure out what's going on here. And I guarantee you that a lot of guys, this is what they do. They're taking stuff out, and then trying to get it to the right size because they don't know what's going on. They're not expecting there to be an actual manufacturer's defect at the end of going through this huge switcheroo with the different sizes, with Amazon listing the wrong thing in the wrong place. And I noticed like AutoZone had it listed in the wrong place, the wrong size. All like the auto, like it was like some sort of conspiracy, which we were talking about earlier would be possible with like advanced technology, et cetera, like we were talking about. So you could get these guys who might go through one, two, three of these things before they finally get the right one, and then they don't realize that okay, it's actually a manufacturer's defect in the right one that they have to size down. Okay, so like how far do you size it down? I mean, here's this little lip right here. I would have gone to this little lip, right, all the way down flat if I weren't thinking. But if I'm thinking correctly, I'm seeing okay. Here's There's a brand on here. Now, if I were real smart, I'd go down all the way till you just barely couldn't read the brand anymore. She would still want to leave the brand on there just for the sake of civility, you know. If that and that would be kind of like a way that in code that if somebody wanted to make this part to where you had to file it down and like the enemy, you know, didn't know what was going on because they weren't um, educated, savvy enough. Well, because your compadres, your compatriots, maybe who might be like resurrecting into our children or something because they're gaining these rights to our own families and quantum possessing our people because they're violating the covenant, you know, they might get in somewhere across the country. You don't know where he is, but you know that if you design this part wrong and you got to file it down, he's got to file it down too. But he knows that the civil policy works is you don't want to be disrespectful to the brand, even though this lip right here would make you think you want to go that far. Well, you know you can at least go that far because of the way the manufacturing is, but you don't want to go enough to violate civil policy. So right there, you could have somebody that would be able to go boom, one shot right to the perfect depth, put it in, they're good to go, rock and roll.